If you've ever found yourself riding an escalator just to get lunch, you might have wondered why food courts are so often set apart from the rest of a shopping centre. They're rarely the first thing you see. They're often grouped together, and they're usually placed somewhere that feels slightly out of the way. This isn't an accident. Food courts end up where they do because food behaves differently from retail. At a glance, eating seems like a natural companion to shopping. People get hungry, they take breaks, they sit down. It feels logical to place dining right in the middle of everything, but the moment people start eating, their behavior changes. When someone sits down with food, they stop moving. Their attention narrows, they're no longer browsing or circulating. They've shifted into a fixed activity that takes time and space. That shift matters more than it appears. Retail spaces are designed around movement. Shoppers flow through corridors, pause briefly, then continue. This movement keeps spaces legible, predictable, and commercially viable. Eating interrupts that rhythm. If dining were scattered throughout a shopping centre, circulation would slow. Corridors would clog, seating would spill into walkways. The calm, steady flow that retail relies on would become uneven and difficult to manage. By grouping food into a single area, designers contain that pause. Becomes intentional, predictable, easier to plan around. There's also the issue of infrastructure. Food requires systems that most retail stores don't. Water supply, drainage, ventilation, grease traps, exhaust ducts, waste handling. Running these services throughout an entire shopping centre is expensive and complex. Concentrating them in one zone reduces cost, simplifies construction, and makes long-term maintenance far more manageable. That's one reason food courts are often stacked vertically or placed at the edges of a building. It's not about hiding them, it's about efficiency. Then there's smell. Food smells are powerful, they attract attention and trigger appetite, but they also linger. And when they linger in the wrong place, they compete with retail. A clothing store doesn't benefit from the smell of fried food drifting past its entrance. A bookshop doesn't want strong aromas settling into paper and fabric. By separating food from shopping, designers control where those sensory cues exist. When you smell food strongly, you're already close to where you're meant to eat. Crowd behavior plays a role too. Food courts experience peaks that don't align neatly with shopping patterns. Lunchtime, early evening, weekends. These surges create lines, noise, and density. If food were distributed evenly throughout a mall, those peaks would disrupt everything around them. Checkout queues would clash with dining queues, seating would overflow, noise would spill into quieter retail zones. Dedicated food areas allow designers to plan for intensity. Wider walkways, higher ceilings, different lighting and acoustics. Spaces built to absorb energy rather than spread it. This also helps explain why food courts are often located at the top, bottom, or far end of a shopping centre. These placements turn food into an anchor. People may enter the building specifically to eat, but to reach the food court, they pass storefronts along the way. Or they may shop first, then head toward food as a natural endpoint to their visit. Either way, the placement extends the journey. In some countries, especially where malls are large and vertically stacked, food courts are commonly placed on upper levels. In others, food courts may sit at ground level or near major entrances. The location varies, but the principle doesn't. Food is grouped, separated, given its own zone. Even when dining areas feel visually open, they're usually framed as a different environment. Flooring changes, lighting softens, sound behaves differently. You've crossed an invisible boundary. There's also a commercial logic behind clustering food vendors. When multiple food outlets share a space, they compete directly. That competition encourages variety, keeps prices balanced, and makes the area more appealing overall. A single cafe hidden among shops is easy to miss. A collection of options in one place becomes a destination. From a leasing perspective, food courts are flexible. Units can be smaller, turnover is faster. If one vendor leaves, the system continues without disrupting the rest of the center. This flexibility is valuable in a retail environment that constantly changes. And then there's cleanup. Eating creates waste, trays, packaging, spills, odors, noise. Confining these side effects to one area makes the rest of the shopping center easier to manage. Cleaning schedules become simpler. Waste collection is centralized. The overall environment stays calmer. None of this means shopping centers don't want people to eat. They do. Food keeps people on site longer. It turns shopping into a social experience. It increases visit frequency. But food has to be handled carefully. It needs space, services, and boundaries. So when you find yourself navigating escalators, corridors, or corners in search of lunch, it's worth noticing what you passed on the way. That journey wasn't accidental. Food courts end up where they do because eating changes how space behaves. Once you understand that, their placement starts to make sense.